I used to hate studying so much. In fact, whenever I had an exam or something important coming up, I would always procrastinate. I wouldn't do the work until the very last minute. And then I wondered why when I got my result back, I never did good. Until finally, I had a failure so bad that I had to change. And in this video, I'm gonna show you what I did to change. Now let me begin with saying that no matter how much you have that David Goggins, no pain, no gain, work hard even when you don't want to mentality, you will hate studying. No matter how much work you put in, it's probably not gonna work if you don't do it intelligently. Not unless you do these 3 things that made me become the biggest nerd in my school. The first step is to change your mindset. Let me tell you a story. Recently I had an exam. 2 exams on the same day. A maths and a science exam. I studied for both exams in the morning before school, so I only had about 2.5 hours. Now, during that time, I prioritized my maths way more. So I told myself I have to study 2 hours for maths, and so I can only study 30 minutes of science. Now, even though I spent way more time studying maths, I found it way more bearable to study science. And I ended up learning more and getting a better mark for that exam. Now the reason for this was in the wording before I started. It was my mindset. With the maths exam, I looked at the work and said I have to do this. Whereas in the science, I said I get to, or I only have to do. Now that way, your brain sees it as something worth appreciating and not a chore. This goes on to the second point. The next step is to limit your work. In economics, there's an ideology that scarcity brings value. So by having less of a subject, that subject is worth more. This is mostly seen when you haven't done your homework and you've had 2 weeks to do it. And since you had 2 weeks, it was worthless. Maybe 10 minutes, 30 minutes before you have to do it, you have way less time and the time is way more valuable. So you lock in and you don't even think about whether you want to do it or not. You just do it. So bring scarcity to your goals and to your work. Now the final step is probably the most important and something that it took me a while to get right. And it is to stop studying like an idiot. Let me tell you a story. So when I was younger, we used to have this game in my class called TT Rockstars. It was a game where you basically do timetables and you get like a speed at which you answer your questions and also a ranking within your class. Now me and almost everybody in my class absolutely hated timetables, and yet we were hooked to this game because of the challenge, the competitiveness, and that feeling of actually doing something. We found it enjoyable because we found it hard, not boring. And it made me realize that doing questions and applying knowledge rather than gaining it is far more fun. Nobody read the instructions for the game. Nobody would find that fun. But yeah, everybody spent time playing the game. So stop reading your work, reading your notes, and start answering questions. I hope these techniques help you. If they do, tell me in the comments if they were worth your time. Subscribe to the channel if it's worth it. And click this video here if you want to learn how to study less the right way. Thank you for your time and use it wisely.